Merry Christmas, one and all. Merry Christmas.
Are
Is it
you saying that to us or to the audience?
Yeah.
well? So there might be one person who is in a time zone where it has actually been Christmas. Remember, we've had people from Thailand, right? Although, hang on,
Mm-hmm.
they're
Merry
behind.
Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Is it appropriate to just say Merry Christmas on Christmas Eve, or are you supposed to say Merry Christmas Eve?
Well, it's
Do
technically
you have
Christmas
to
here, but
do you have to make the distinction though?
Maddie, in America,
Mm.
it's 6 p.m. where I am. It's 9 p.m. where Thai
Right.
is. So
Right.
Yep.
And America invented Christmas along with the Coca-Cola.
right, at least the good parts anyway.
Right, like my red hat.
And abject consumerism and spending.
Yeah.
Fun fact:
Revitalize the economy.
the hit motion picture The Santa Claus was filmed where I live.
The Santa Claus.
Whoa.
Which one is that? Is that the Tim Allen one?
That's the Tim Allen. That's the Disney Tim Allen.
Griff, your favorite, right?
Yeah, your favorite guy. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah.
Your
You
favorite
love
guy?
Tim.
I don't know if you've said that.
He's not my favorite
Motion to
guy. He's my
disavow.
favorite fictional Santa.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Not to be confused with the real Santa.
Of course.
kind of messed up how he's your favorite guy.
What's your theory on how Santa makes his way around the world, delivers all the presents all in one night?
Magic.
What's your theory on that? Yeah, magic.
Magic.
Mhm.
Or does he delegate? Does he outsource and offload to his elves? And are they running sleighs too?
I think
Yeah.
an effective Santa would have to delegate.
Like I
Yeah.
imagine Santa doesn't even leave the North Pole. Actually, like he doesn't actually do the delivery. Like he's like
Whoa.
You think so?
he's like the Bezos, right? And then,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, and then
So
Right.
Amazon
No, that
and
makes
Prime is actually Santa.
and then the elves who are definitely
Right.
making a living wage, wink wink, are the ones that deliver all the toys.
Yeah. Now, but how do you? Because especially in stand your ground states, when the Amazon driver comes down your chimney and is offloading all those presents and stuff, do they have to wear a particular like North Pole garb just in case it's caught on camera or
Well, they're representing the brand, right?
dads.
So yeah,
Right.
yeah. So of course, yeah.
Because if
You're representing the
dad's
brand.
drunk on the couch with the shotgun loaded, and
right?
he's waiting for home invaders.
You don't want a mistaken identity. Of course, you don't want any accidents. So to normalize everything, tights, pointy hat,
Yeah,
ears, etc.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wonder. That's a lot of logistics, but I think it's magic now. But to what end though? Magic might be the how, but how are you using magic to time travel so that you can constantly go back in time before it's like 5, 6, 7 a.m. Or are you?
Or is the magic even literal? Is it even literal? Is it or is it figurative?
If the magic isn't literal, how are the presents getting under the tree?
That's true.
Because that's literal. That's not figurative. That's
that is.
This is great. What moment?
Because Maddie,
you guys...
can check. Maddie, to cut you off rudely, you can check the presents, and they say from Santa on some of them.
Well,
I mean, that doesn't just happen.
Griff.
Yeah.
What made me realize is, it made me doubtful. Obviously, I've since been reassured, but what made me slightly doubtful was the fact that my presents under my tree were from family.
What are you
then
saying?
In my stocking, I got small things from Santa.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
Can I continue?
Yeah. Okay.
When you explain yourself.
Yeah.
Then Santa was the one who obviously delivers the presents from the family under the tree. However, what made me slightly skeptical was there was this little boy who was my friend, and he was a bit of a nuisance and a problem child and did not behave very well. Yet I was reassured that if you behaved well, then Father Christmas or Santa would give you nice presents, right?
Sure.
Now, this boy, in my stocking, I'd get like a clementine from Santa. Very nice. Very grateful for my clementine. Lovely clementine. Very nice. A bit of chocolate, I'm very grateful for that. But this boy in his stocking got a PlayStation 2. Like, how does that work? He was a nuisance, and yet he gets a PlayStation 2.
How
The
did they
thing
fit
is,
an
it's
entire
all part of
Wait.
Santa's
He got a
plan.
PS2 in his stocking?
Yeah, but it's all part
Hey,
of Santa's plan, right? Like that is,
it's
it's
Santa's
testing
plan,
your
yeah.
faith in Santa.
Right.
And that
Right.
moment from then, I was like, you know what? Santa's done this for a reason. He's testing me. He's testing
Right.
my faith in Santa.
Right.
And you know
Well,
what? I didn't give up.
we all know the hit Drake song, right? Santa's Plan.
Right. And
Yeah.
my PlayStation
Faith-
2 is coming.
Faith isn't faith if it has to be tested.
Right.
Right. Okay, so real quick,
Perhaps an elastic band stocking.
how
Is it
nice is
looking-
this if
Pardon?
Evo Marzal?
Oh.
Merry Christmas, guys. Appreciate you, Go Hawks. Thank you so much.
Let's go,
Thank you,
Devo.
Devo. Very nice.
Thank you,
Merry
Devo.
Christmas to you.
Merry
Very
too,
Christmas.
man.
nice.
Appreciate
Much better
that.
than Debo Samuel.
Thank you so
Evo
much.
Marzal. Very
Yeah.
nice. Thank you. Appreciate it. And yes, I agree. Pretty large stocking. Yeah, I didn't understand that either. It made me question a lot of things. But like I said,
Did they put the whole PS2 box in the stocking, or like did they take the console out and put that in the stocking?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably a PS2 Slim, right? Like it can't have been the big boy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then like
Yeah.
wide. I don't know. That's risky because like if you
Yeah.
throw the stocking around, then it smashes up.
Right? Like if you have the stocking like hung up over the fireplace or whatever, and you've got like say a marble flooring or something like that, right underneath, and that shit falls. I mean, then your PS2 is just it's
That's a big time American tradition, putting stockings underneath fireplaces. We put them in beds generally.
You put them in beds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Father Christmas is getting about that house. He's just doing work.
Yeah. And he gets
He's
right up in there.
Yeah, he does. He's very friendly.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get a beer before we like start. I need another beer.
Our producer.
Holiday beer.
Hi, it's not even Christmas in your country. What on earth is this?
I'm off to it is Christmas somewhere, particularly where you are. So
true. I'm currently watching a piece of pork being prepared.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of the future and time and everything, I'm watching this show on Netflix. It's a German show called Dark. And at the center of the story is time travel. I won't spoil anything to anyone that hasn't seen it that might want to in the future, but it's a very good TV show.
Nice.
And I'm picking up some German along the way too, which is a nice little
ein bisschen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wunderbar.
Danke schön.
Yeah. Pronunciation could do with some work, but it's fine.
Yeah, you're right. Is it Danke schön?
I think it's Dankeschön.
Dankeschön.
No.
Guten Tag. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
We're very multicultural on this podcast, so.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Indeed. I take it you haven't seen it though.
It's called Dark.
Yeah, you don't like it. No pun intended.
Correct.
You don't like dark shows. You in movies, like you don't like the
What are we talking
psychological
about?
thrillers, do you?
No, I really do. I don't like stuff which is a bit sci-fi, magic.
Yeah. Although it's very grounded. It's a very grounded story.
But Matt, you're a big MCU Star Wars fan.
Yeah,
That's
go
the
the what are they?
Yeah.
Central Michigan Chippewas?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Of course.
Sure. Of course.
Undoubtedly. The Central Michigan University.
Have you guys seen Knives Out?
I've seen the first one. I'm gonna watch the second one soon.
Yeah, I watched the second one today. It's pretty good.
Was it? Nice.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
W.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Glass Onion, right?
Yeah, Glass Onion.
And I want to watch Banshees of Inisherin. That's on Disney Plus apparently in our country's Thai.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that, so I'll check that out then. I didn't know that was on Disney Plus. That's sick.
There you go.
Let's go. W.
Right.
All right.
Right. Should we do like a podcast about the Seahawks, or we could keep talking? To be fair.
I mean,
Let's do it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off.
Okay, we have 14 people. Please like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. If there's not 14 likes in 2 minutes, then you're getting coal in your stocking. So, not my rules.
Definitely not getting a PS2 in your stocking.
That PS2 Slim ain't coming.
Yeah.
No. And yeah, tell a friend that we're live. Right. Here we go. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where unfortunately the Seattle Seahawks have lost 24-10 to the Kansas City Chiefs. We didn't expect that much from this game, but it is still disappointing. Seattle now is 7-8. Their playoff hopes are somewhat alive, which we'll get to. Nevertheless, yeah, the way they lost, a bit troubling. There's some positives too. They've now lost 5 of their last 6 games, which I think is really why the vibes are down. They sort of forgotten how to win. Guys, I'm sure we'll get to the time for Cope, but we'll start with Griff. Griff, how bad was this? Because I was sort of in a family meal at the time as well, dipping, the old looking at the phone, having a conversation, that sort of thing. But it looked pretty bad from my dipping.
I think, in short, the offense underperformed and the defense overperformed expectations. So, a loss is a loss. It's really stresses their playoff chances. It's looking further and further to be unlikely. But I don't think we thought they were going to come away from this game with a win at any point, even when they were sitting at 6-3. I think we all still had this game circled as a loss. So, still, losses are still traumatic watching them unfold in real time, but it was really encouraged the defense. That drive at the end that we'll get into was a downer, but I mean, they held the Chiefs defense to like their 3rd or 4th most inefficient game on offense altogether, held them to 24 points. So it's not like they got dunked on left and right. They balled a lot of it up on offense. Just they didn't have the juice. Tyler Lockett obviously is a huge, huge loss. He's their best player on the whole team, I think, offense or defense. So not having him is hurts no matter what. And yeah, the protection was stressed, and that affected Geno and stuff. And he was trying to maintain composure, but yeah, all in all, it was still a crappy game, I'd say.
Yeah, I'll bring Kai in, but just to reiterate, that kind of offense underperforming, missing Tyler Lockett, did kind of accentuate also the interior offensive line struggles. Although the second half they sort of ran the ball better, but their third down efficiency, something that Pete Carroll kind of highlighted as the difference in the game. Seattle going 2 for 14 on third down, 14.3%. Too many of those were 3rd and longs as well. Super, super disappointing. Their net yards rushing, they ended up with 133 and 4.3 yards per carry. But just against Kansas City, we can get into some sort of game time decisions, but they just couldn't really overcome that first half. Geno Smith going 25 for 40, 215 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, the interception can't really have that happen either. But Ty, just general overview wise.
Yeah, I DM'd you guys this kind of right after the game that I'm pretty sad about how the offense performed, but overall, considering the way that the defense fared, that I don't feel too bad about it. Just full picture. Yeah, the loss sucks, obviously. But 297 yards, 3 of 11 on third down. That's pretty good against a team that has Patrick Mahomes as its quarterback, and given all the injuries that you've sustained on defense and all that. So, they kind of put together the perfect recipe here. They controlled the time of possession. They played pretty well on defense. I mean, before that last scoring drive by Kansas City, the Chiefs only had like 27 yards in the second half. And they hadn't really given up any explosives until that Kelsey, the big Kelsey catch. So there were a lot of positives to take from this game. Just couldn't really get the ball in the end zone. They mostly did everything pretty well. They seemed like they ran the ball efficiently at times, other times not as much. And, some of their numbers are a little skewed by some big runs, but yeah, it was really just, they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They couldn't sustain drives. Obviously, they had the first quarter where they didn't even get a first down. I don't even remember when exactly it was in the game when they actually got their first down. But yeah, and that was just too much to overcome. But, outside of the offense, I think like you have to feel pretty decent about what they did. I mean, they still, they lost 24-10, and that was basically 24-3 until the last minute. But, as far as, losing by 2 to 3 scores, like as far as that goes, this wasn't that bad.
What is this? We're being positive. My word, amazing.
I mean, they gave us a reason to be positive today. I think, at least, like offensively, no, and we'll get into that. But
well, okay, let's focus on the positive. So the reason to be positive is that the defense performed very well. They were down 17-3 for most of the game. They had very little hope. Seattle only really started driving the ball on offense to end the first half. There was nothing, and yet the defense, time and time again, they put stuff together. They seemed to be a blend of execution and game plan. Again, against the 49ers, you saw signs that it was taking an uptick, but you worried about them against a premier quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. You worried against them, about them against a kind of style of offense which is like Kansas City rather than San Francisco. And yet, like you said, Ty, 3 of 11 on third down, which is 27.3% for the game. The difference is that fact that when Kansas City got into the red zone, they were 3 for 3. That obviously includes the field goals, but they converted their opportunities and they marched the ball down the field. But even then, and this speaks somewhat to Seattle's run game, especially in the second half clicking, but at the time of possession, Kansas City had the ball under 25 minutes, Seattle just over 35 minutes. The defense seemed to find something. I'm quite excited to see the tape. I think we'll have to probably promise people that in the tape review, we don't just focus on the defense, because the offense appears to have some issues that are recurring from past games. But Griff, on the defense, really positive. They kind of bottled up Mahomes. You're with Ty and me that's something to hang your hat on and be coping about.
Yeah. I mean, Mahomes had, he went 16 for 28, 224 yards. That's 8 yards per attempt. But again, prior to that touchdown drive, which was bad, don't get me wrong, but he had negative EPA per attempt. I think he was literally negative 0.01. And if that held, that would have been the only game where he's had negative drop back EPA on a rate basis this year. So, and if we think about how many times he ended up tucking the ball and trying to create, they were defending their structure really well. So I suspect that when we watch the tape back, that they the tape will look pretty good. There weren't a lot of busts. I think the 2 attempts that happened against Kelsey, the first one, I don't know what happened. I don't know if Brooks was culpable for that one. The second one, I think he was, though. And it was odd to me that he elected to, this was a conscious choice. He elected to spot drop under that route as opposed to turn and carry.
Yeah.
And we've seen him turn
in the past.
Right. And we've seen him turn and carry with guys that are faster than Travis Kelce. So
right.
if he gives it up, it's because Kelce just mosses him, which is fine. It's Travis Kelce. But you don't want to make it easy for them. And that was really peculiar. But again, outside of that, I think they played really solid defense against the best offense in the league. And they had, an average of 3.5 yards per carry. So the run defense is good. And why that is super significant is because, they played Bear, but they kind of made the run defense work without Al Woods, without Brian Mona in their even front, and the insistence to want to play too high also to defend Mahomes. So the fact that they made the run defense functional while staying in the calls that they want to defend the main threat, that's Mahomes, I think that speaks volumes. And if we're not just talking about this season, but big picture, I really hope this game will be kind of like the blueprint for what they want to be. And then if you could just close your eyes and imagine Al Woods, Mona, and next year, even more talent in the scheme, how much even easier things would be. So,
agree.
Yeah.
And Griff, like, again, to that point, like, just raw statistics, Mahomes, 16 for 28, 224 passing yards. Their run game, 22 attempts, 77 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. And this is with the defense, like, not given much to work with on the road. Like, against the Kansas City offense has had struggles, and there is kind of that feeling that maybe if they'd needed to, they could have gone through some extra gears, right?
Yeah.
That being said, like, you play, you can play, and I think the blend of the calls seem to have worked that out.
Yeah,
and I don't necessarily think we've been at that point in this season before. I think early we were saying it was super vanilla, it was kind of basic. Midway through, we're like, okay, well they've found sort of Bear as their base, but what is after? They're gonna fix. Can they fix the 4 down? The 4 down ended up being a disaster. Now it feels like they've fixed everything up, and they've sort of got the right blend of middle field closed, middle field open, and they've got the kind of right deployment for their personnel up front, which is a big thing, which they didn't quite have in terms of the techniques they're asking them to do. So each player. So yeah, big positives on the defense. Now, Ty, obviously people are probably going to get annoyed with us, which is understandable because Seattle's offense, not for the first time this season, in fact, in this losing kind of spell, the offense has been sluggish. But Seattle's offense really, really struggled. Like, again, Geno ends up dropping back quite a few times. Yeah, they get the run game going in the second half, but they struggle in the first half. They look outmatched on the interior defensive line.
They had to really force. Sorry to interrupt, but they had to really force it with the run game too, in order to get it going. So,
yeah, and then obviously Tyler Lockett, his absence just amplifies the fact that there's not really, D. Eskridge is on IR currently. There's not really a wide receiver 3. Like Marquise Goodwin had that. He's been kind of open deep, but he's more like a 4 speed type. Like really, Lockett's such a great player, obviously, but the depth behind him, the kind of ability to get open in zone holes and the intermediate areas of the field, he was badly missed. And like Metcalf is obviously brilliant at some aspects, but he was he's not like gonna do what Lockett can do in an offense, which is fine. That's just the type of players they are. And like that drive where there was like, was it 3 drops in a row? Like Geno's trying his absolute socks off, and there's 3 just awful drops in a row. And you've got Laquan Treadwell taking snaps, and I don't want to beat up on Laquan Treadwell. He's taken enough flack from different franchises and the former first round pick, but like that was just rough. Like
we had the drops. We also had like the miscommunications on certain routes too. Like if all hands aren't on deck, you at least got to be on your P's and Q's of the stuff you can control. And and Goodwin, he was hurt this game, and he's made plays this year. Like I generally for expectations satisfied with him, but this game was a pretty good indicator of how much. I don't know if need is the right word, because they can still be really good if the protection fully blossoms into like their peak self, which will probably happen next year. But how much they could use a legit third receiver, and guy that you can like not throw the ball to 80 times as your third target because you need to, because you want to.
Right.
So I mean, and the draft will have the opportunity to do that. But I hope with one of their first 3 picks is a receiver come April.
Yeah. So you mentioned the interception and possibly a miscommunication between Marquise Goodwin and Geno Smith. That is a key moment in the game because it was 2nd and 12, 7:48 left in the game. Seattle was down by
14.
So it's like, okay, well, maybe we score here and then we make it a 1-score game. The defense continues doing their stuff, and suddenly it's a comeback. But instead, a weird pick where live you're watching and you're like, Geno throws that like he's breaking to the, almost back corner of the end zone, and Goodwin breaks it super flat. And you think, okay, that has to be on Goodwin, or a miscommunication. But then afterwards, Geno in his post-game press conference, he goes further than just saying it's on me. He said it was a bad pass, and he put it he didn't put it in the right spot. And he said that Marquise Goodwin ran the route he was supposed to, which again, that's slightly surprising to me. But then, maybe it's just a miscommunication, and Gino doesn't want to get into that at the time. But
right,
yeah,
well,
yeah. I was just going to say that it feels like. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
Talk over. I'll talk over you.
I was just going to say that it kind of feels to me like he's protecting this guy, not trying to throw Goodwin under the bus there. Because for as accurate as Gino has been this year, I mean, there's obviously going to be bad throws, but that was
not an errant throw. Yeah. That was I mean, it could have been Gino who was wrong. Maybe Gino had the wrong route, but
right.
It was not a missed throw in the terms of accuracy. It was a missed throw in terms of someone did the wrong thing. Then you also had that curl route where Gino threw a fade, and that looked like a potential option where the receiver changes his route based off of the position of the defender. If you're even, I'm leaving. If you're on top, I hunker down. And maybe they just misread the leverage on the defender. Gino wanted to give the guy a chance downfield. So little things like that was definitely a factor. But I feel like even bigger than the receivers, though, this definitely ties into the receivers, but there weren't a lot of places to go with the ball, especially before pressure came. So is that an openness problem? Is that the protection isn't giving it enough time? Because that's it can be a very fine line, But again, like the pocket behavior from Gino, I don't think that it didn't look like he was passing things up that were open. It didn't seem like he wasn't using what was available in the pocket. He does have that tendency to backwards spin scramble when the play is dead and the alternative is throwing it away. But at that point, when they're in desperate moments, he's trying to make a play. I mean, yeah, you can nitpick the decision making right then and there, but you'd rather the structure be executable before picking apart decisions to make after it's clear that the play's dead. So I don't know. My thought process is Lucas and Cross are young still, and they're just high variance play. And I don't really know what the interior, I don't know. I mean, Chris Jones had a good game, but I don't remember who specifically was responsible. That's what I'll watch for. I feel like I don't have a great beat on how the interior is doing in protection the past couple of weeks. I felt like last week they actually weren't that bad. Again, it was the tackles. This week, I wonder how that will stay the same or change.
There was some replays on and again, it's the broadcast, but there's some replays where they flash to they've just run guard tackle or pin pull kind of stuff, gaps, concepts up front, and I'll look at the tape and see what happened. But they're just getting smashed off the ball, and the same thing happened against the 49ers. I really do think that's a problem.
The run blocking is poor still.
Yeah, it just looks awful, which is a shame. So,
and real quick, speaking to miscommunication and the line, seemed like there was a bit of miscommunication between Gino and the line during this game as well, which led to a couple of burnt timeouts. And the clock management was that was really poor today as well from the offense.
Yeah, and I guess it's a loud stadium, so you expect that in a way, and they're all riled up because they're about to make the playoffs and they're pushing for the AFC. They've made the playoffs, but they're pushing for the AFC number 1 seed. So, but yeah, right. I agree, Ty. That was messy. Now, a big thing is what happened on 4th down, specifically Pete Carroll's justification. I haven't actually watched the post-game press conference, but he seemed, according to the beat reporters, he said that Seattle going for it on 4th down was that he wasn't sure the defense could contain Mahomes and the Kansas City's offense for much longer. But my big gripe was basically at the end of the first half, it was 4th and 3, 4th and goal, right? You need 3 yards to score. And you kick a field goal to make a 17-0 game, 17-3. Now, I get that you get the ball at half and your defense has been playing well, and you don't want to lose them as well. You show faith in them. You want to get points on the board at least, but also, come on, if you're thinking that Kansas City is some kind of juggernaut, just go for it, man. What is making it a fort? Okay, well, literally making it a 14-point game rather than a 17-point game, turns it from a 3-score game into a 2-score game with the ball at half. But that to me was like, just what's the point here? Like, I don't know. It's probably a minor gripe. What am I wrong in that, or?
Well, I think there were some situational decisions that are questionable, like a lot of the going for it on fourth down, because especially in Chiefs territory, because but I think that's really kind of a matter at the end of the day of just hindsight being 2020, because like you look back on it, it's like, well, if they just kicked some field goals there, it would have been like a 17-12 game, right? When they were
you weren't like bashing your whatever. Bashing your whatever. You weren't...
Whoa.
Okay.
We are a family show here on the Seattle Overload podcast.
Christmassy. You weren't like smacking the table.
Never get monetized.
yeah.
Smacking the table, Maddie. Calm down.
Yeah, Matthew.
Enough
Maddie,
with the innuendos.
Maddie,
what are you gonna say next?
You weren't frustrated that they didn't go for it at the end of the second.
Maddie, frustrated that you didn't go for it. Jeez.
You gotta go for it, guys.
So unhinged, Maddie. You're so toxic.
There you go. There goes Maddie again.
Well, shit. All right. So, I mean, in that situation, I get it, because like you said, right? Like you take it from a 3-score game to a 2-score game, and you get the ball back at the start of the second half. That, like, I can see what you're saying, but there are other decisions that are just other moments that I'm more frustrated about than that.
Okay.
Griff, how do you feel?
Yeah, you a little Thai fan.
Yeah. You're a little quiet there, Griff.
Yeah, you're quiet.
I like their fourth down. I thought there was only one fourth down where I thought they should have gone. Well, no, there was one where actually I didn't mind their fourth down aggressiveness. So that one early on, where was the ball at that point? Weren't they at their own 40?
Then they were like around the Kansas City 40. Yeah.
Oh, maybe. But they were aggressive elsewhere, kind of when they had to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing for me, I mean, personally, again, end of the first half, just throw a touchdown, lads. Let's not kick the field goal here. Let's not be cowards. It's 3 yards and in. Let's score some points.
Basically, Matty is saying that Pete Carroll is scared to compete.
I mean, it was kind of scared to compete there. Anyway, the thing for me, what the other fourth downs emphasize is there was desperation, but you have the first drive of the game where the first drive of the second half, whereas I almost exit the thing we used to record, but I didn't. So W. The first drive of the second half. So you've kicked your field goal, then your offense goes 3 and out. Great. That's not what you anticipated. Then your defense D's up again. You force a 3 and out of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Matthew, family show.
Yeah, sorry. Then your offense gets the ball back and you get driving, and they go for it on 4th and 4 from Kansas City's 34-yard line, where you could have kicked the field goal, made it a 9-point game, but there's only 7 minutes 30 left in the third quarter, so I kind of get it. But anyway, they decide to go for a 4th and 4 rather than just going for... And yeah, it is all hindsight, this sort of stuff. But anyway, that kind of annoys me. And the bigger thing, though, is it highlights how poor the execution was. They pass it short of the sticks to Colby Parkinson for no gain. And it feels really like it was by design, because Penny Hart gets done for offensive pass interference on that play, which is declined. The fact Penny Hart is getting flagged for that, I mean, it shows that they're
flagged for that.
Flagged.
Maddie, if you're into that sort of thing.
Griffin, you need to behave yourself. You're
me.
Disgusting. Yes, he's getting penalized for that, and
I'm not judging, dude.
Okay.
It was just
acknowledging. Can I finish my point?
Penalized?
You can now, yeah.
Maddie, you just can't help yourself tonight.
They threw some yellow laundry. No. No. So the fact that they throw a flag for offensive pass interference, it shows they're trying to create a rub for the throw short of the sticks, and it was just not there. A lot of their stuff was just bottled the heck up, and you kind of wonder with the run game kind of renaissance in the second half. How much of that is real, given the Chiefs were playing with like a 2-score lead? Like, probably fair to call that into question. But anyway, we'll have to watch the tape. But I don't know. Disappointing because, like, Geno's interception, that's poor. But again, like, we had a question: has Geno's from 5-9 Adventures? Thank you very much. We appreciate your consistent support. But has Geno's process changed in the last few weeks? Well, we need to watch tape of this game, but generally speaking, no. Like, he's still playing like the same Geno Smith. There was occasional elements of pressing. This game, I think maybe not as much, but I guess the pick was weird. But that seems more like a miscommunication rather than pressing. It should have been there if the right route is run, even though Geno's taken blame for that and explained it away in a different manner to what you expect. But like, I don't know. I think Geno's Geno. Like, the rest of the offense has just completely collapsed. Like, particularly that interior defensive line, and like even the play, like, guy against you, Griff. You mentioned about guys getting open. Like, I had not seen that from the 49ers game, for instance. Guys aren't, the primary concept isn't getting open as much as it used to.
Yeah, I think when we end up watching the tape, that it's just going to be at least partly a matter of just not having guys that can organically get open, and then having a young, unbalanced offensive line. I think that's a really big part of it right now. And a lot of guys are banged up, too. And that's, it's just kind of all falling apart perfectly. Which, not perfectly, but
looking to the future, this is where the conversation, gets really engrossing, I think, looking at the draft, because while there is overlap and it's all oversimplification of all like the top 60 prospect receivers of this draft, you can mostly put them into two buckets, and it's the big explosive downfield threats, and then it's the guys that are just like road runner route runners, and they just get open. We've seen Geno make some sick one-on-one throws that they quite haven't bottled up at the rate that we think Geno is good enough to put his receivers in position to bottle up. So like, you can go that route where you go like, get him a guy where Geno will just throw those trust shots, those trick shots downfield where you're just dunking on guys with a crazy throw, and get a guy that will just magnetize to the ball and win contested rates at an above average rate. Or you go get the other Lockett type where it's just, you're like running more progression passing, you're running more concept, more plays, and let Geno just read out the defenders and pit, and it looks like pitch and catch. So like what direction what receiver you take, assuming they take one, will teeter you in one direction or the other, because you already have a DK type and a Tyler type. So if you get DK redundancy versus Tyler redundancy, one's going to pull you way in the other direction. So if you go get another DK type like A.T. Perry, for example, or Quentin Johnson. Now, again, both of those guys might be proficient route runners. But if you go get one of those guys, you're talking more like Geno verticality, crazy stuff like that, more isolation. Whereas if you go get a guy like Mario Addison, or not Mario, I just said Mario. That's the pass rusher.
Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison, or a guy like JSN or like Zay Flowers, you're talking like that's your Brandon Cooks, that's your kind of Cooper Kupp-ish, Robert Woods-ish type of guys. I'm not saying they're going to be as good as them, right? But
that's exactly what you said.
That's weird. Yeah. That's a weird comp. Yeah.
Where it's
you just said that Zay Flowers is Cooper Kupp.
Hall of Fame, I've heard. Yeah.
So anyway, so it's really interesting where they can go, but one or the other, by virtue of the fact that you already have DK and Tyler, who themselves are such like specific type of receivers, not to like put them in a box, but it will thrust the entire offense into one direction or the other in terms of the kind of makeup you are. Maddie, get your mind out of the gutter, man. That's all you. That's on you. I'm not taking responsibility for that. You're all over the place tonight, Mr. Brown.
I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really think like, anyway. When you look at this team, right, like I really think they need just another guy that can route guys up and make plays after the catch, like get yards after the catch. Like they really need that. So hopefully that's what they focus on, and they don't wait until like the mid rounds to late rounds to address it. Go get you like you got 4 picks in the what is probably going to be the top 45-ish, top 50, like go use one of those on a legit difference maker in your receiving core.
Ty, agree. Although it's quite funny because a lot of the Russell Wilson supporters said similar things. And at the peak of this offense, we were like, whoa, they got quite a few weapons here, lads. So I think the absence of Tyler Lockett really does accent this problem.
Are you accusing me of blindly standing Geno Smith?
No.
I would never do that.
See though, but if they absolutely like if the protection performed near its peak this year for the whole season, they absolutely have enough guys at the skill at tight end and receiver. But like part of it's not just what would you love for this offense right now? It's also a roster building question mark because you may not have Fant next year or the year after that. You might need to make
his
a decision.
Is a bit hard to justify.
And then Tyler's getting older, and then the other thing of it is fundamentally would Waldron prefer to be an 11 personnel team?
Well, I don't even think he knows right now. Like he's just
right. And he's kind of going back and forth between like 12 and 13 is such its own like world almost conceptually.
Yeah, they have very much personnel tells, which is like the complete opposite to McVay.
That's not what he wants.
Would blend the whole thing.
And I think ultimately Waldron's doing a great job. Not a great job, a good job for the most part in each bucket. But I think he would ideally like to blend them.
Yeah.
And I think he would rather be an 11 personnel team than 12 personnel when you need to be.
And that lack of blending is really hurting. I think that's the core issue of the offense right now. Like to access certain elements of the attack, they're really having to sort of overdo certain things. Like, for instance, if you want to get the run game going, well, you have to go under center and you have to go 12 and 13 personnel. But then what's your layer off that? Well, they don't have the passing game they're comfortable with right now. So then they have to get into gun. But then they can't 11 personnel and they can't run the football. So and they've tried to, but they just can't get it going. So that's a bit of a mess. But you guys are all talking about the draft. And that is frankly disgraceful.
Griff. I'm doing a little scouting right now. Watching
you're dabbling.
Such a Scrooge, Matty.
The Steelers Raiders game right now, and who I think would be great in the Seahawks offense.
Now we're doing free agency.
Is Waller playing right now?
He is playing, and he's actually made a couple of really nice catches.
And you're doing free agency, so you're and trade.
Curious.
That's not free agency, Matty. That would be trade.
Yeah, fine.
So
get it right.
So he's 30. Could you package Fant and a second round pick for Waller if you take on the whole contract? Because Josh McDaniels has his head up as enough to where he'd be like, oh, that's something Bill would do, so we'll do it. He's only 30.
I just realized the answer to your question from last week as to who's the Seahawks Brian Reynolds. It's Darren Waller.
It used to be Allen Robinson for the longest time, right? And then that shriveled up. He turned into our Mitch Haniger.
Excuse me. None of this, because Seattle is still in playoff contention.
That's right, baby.
That's right. It's not Gene over. It's not Gene over.
Both of you lost faith. I'm writing it down.
No, I never lost faith. You can look at my Twitter. You can look at my Twitter timeline.
It's Christmas, Matty. Not the season for losing faith.
Exactly.
I never lost faith in Father Christmas, just dwindled slightly. So, some results around the league which were relevant. Detroit lost to Carolina. They're now 7-8. Washington lost to the 49ers. They're now 7-1. And Green Bay plays Miami tomorrow. They're currently 6-8. Hopefully they're 6-9, which means Seattle's in it. Go and beat the Jets. Go and beat the Rams, make the playoffs.
Yeah, let's
come on,
go.
big boys.
And like if the offense kind of gets its act together a little bit, this defense might be very sneakily be reaching a competent level. I'm not saying good yet, like they were that competent level. And then they were competent without their best defensive tackle. Without Ryan Neal. And without Mona, who is an important player, Monet, whatever. All right, so really quick to answer 509 Adventures question earlier, said who would I prefer of the receivers? I want the route runner type, and more specifically, early returns anyway. I think I'm partial to Jordan Addison overall.
Okay.
By the way, Can the Seahawks hurry up and sign Godwin Igwebuike to the 53-man roster? Because he's actually like
he has to be now.
Like
he's like that.
He's
that's
been a
messed
revelation.
Up, we thank you for mentioning him, because we like actually haven't given him the credit he deserves.
Yeah,
like he's been balling out. This is 3 weeks running now. He's like reignited the return game. If it even was on fire before, this is the first time they've had a genuine returner in forever, which is wild.
Right.
But anyway,
right, agreed.
Right. So where do we go from here? Like, I guess they hopefully they beat the Jets. Hopefully they beat the Rams, and then it's a bit of crossing fingers, but like it can still happen. Just the offense looks so
Jets are
bad.
kind of in a dark place right now, so
they are, but they do play with a similar style, similar scheme.
Yeah,
kind of similar talent up front of the 49ers.
Maddie, your phrasing, which could happen. There's an old Almost Live skit, which is Ty, you might have heard of Almost Live. Like a local comedy troupe, like SNL imitation thing. It's like only aired in Seattle, I think. It would air after SNL, and like in the 80s or whatever, I think 90s, when the Seahawks were like horrible, like one of the worst teams in the league. They had this skit called like Which Could Happen, where they listed all the scenarios, all the teams that would need to lose, and then certain planes being grounded, forcing teams to like forfeit, et cetera, et cetera. Went on and on and on about how the Seahawks could get into the playoffs. And after every line, it was which could happen. And I just feel like we're living that out right now. Currently.
Well, that's also a cheerful message, Griff. Nice
feels like a time loop. And I'm watching a show about time loops, so my brain is just not well at the moment.
Clearly. It's okay,
which show are you watching? I missed that whole conversation.
You're right. It's called Dark on Netflix.
Oh yeah. I've seen Dark.
Oh yeah, that show's so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Have you seen 1899?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
If you like Dark, you'll love 1899.
All right, dope. Check it out.
Yeah, that's so. I'm so happy for you. Well
Maddie, do you have any television recommendations?
Maddie, do you like comic book movies?
No.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
No.
Maddie, who do you think is going to appear in the next Avengers movie?
Yeah,
I know someone the kids like, probably. The children. Yeah. So
making implications about our
Maddie, what do you think is going to happen in season 2 of Andor?
I don't know. I guess like they'll probably have a moral dilemma after some hopeful messaging, and then they'll fix the moral dilemma during the hopeful messaging part.
False dilemmas.
Yeah, false dilemmas.
There we go. Real quick, just before we completely just unravel, Is Waldron coaching for his job in the next 2 games? There you go.
That's an interesting question, because I remember you and I talking about, like, is Waldron going to be a head coach next year?
Is he coaching for his next head coaching job?
Yeah. Now it's like
coaching to stay on as an offensive coordinator. Wow, we're so flip floppy and wishy-washy. Ty, you're not supposed to tell people this. Don't remind them of our ineptitude.
I'm a very transparent, podcast host, right? I don't keep anything, under wraps. I don't keep anything, behind the curtains. I lay it all out there for the folks. That was supposed to be my innuendo, in case any, I guess neither one of you picked that up. No, I just lay it all out there for people.
Folking. Oh, right.
Sure.
Eddie, what did you say?
Yeah. Wait, what? Matthew.
Whoa, easy, Tiger.
I'm gonna have to go back and edit this part out now. I'm gonna have to censor this. I'm gonna have to put one of the beeps on there for you foul mouth boy. You're not going to get anything from Santa. Sorry, Father Christmas.
Ty, you should edit in beeps where he's just saying normal things to make it seem like he's swearing all over the place.
Yeah, I'll put in the SpongeBob like dolphin sound.
Can you just tell me if Waldron's getting fired?
Well, first, Maddie, we need to have a conversation about your attitude before we get there.
Okay. Yeah. We're having a meeting.
Yeah.
Should we do this off air?
We'll have a post-production.
Sounds like someone needs to talk to you about Christmas spirit. Sounds like we need to have a little conversation about, the meaning of Christmas, Matthew. As for Shane Waldron, to, U-turn here. That's still alive, of course. It will never die, Matthew, no matter how much you wish for. Waldron, I don't know if he's coaching for his job yet. It's only been really 2 bad games here. It's 49ers and Chiefs. Oh, he disagrees with me. All right.
I don't think he's coaching for his job.
I mean,
I think the only thing to give consideration to is what is going on with the run blocking cohesion, because you can't just say, "Hey, come out of your stance more powerfully." But you can. The aiming points are all jank at the moment, right? Like the chemistry, feasibly, that theoretically, that can be influenced by coaching, right? Absolutely. So, and also Waldron isn't the one really coaching the offensive line that way. That's Andy Dickerson, but Andy Dickerson.
Oh, so you fired him?
I'm just saying, the offensive coordinator, I don't know precisely what his role is there, but he's not in the trenches with the offensive lineman, but he's still in charge of it all. Okay. So, maybe that's something you need to look for, but I don't. What's the utility in moving on from him? I feel like you have too much that does work that I'd like to hold on to for continuity's sake, and regroup next year.
And let's be real about it, right? It's been bad the last couple of weeks, but it's not ultimately the reason. The offense is not ultimately the reason they're in this position right now.
Right.
So I don't feel like Waldron, over the last couple of weeks, has suddenly gone from he's locked in for next year, or might even go, get interviews, to, he's hanging on by a thread here in just a matter of a couple of weeks. So.
Unfortunately, this is not the first time that the Seahawks have been struggling on defense, and then it's flipped into, now the offense is struggling. So again, I get if people are well, Pete Carroll is the head coach. Why does it happen under him? Now, I don't know enough about other NFL teams. I feel like it's probably more common than people realize. But yeah, these last 2 weeks have just been so disappointing. And I think the warning signs have been there for the offense before that as well. We just, for whatever reason, haven't quite got into it. I guess because the most important player on the offense, Geno Smith, has actually still had a steady process, even with a bit of pressing. So you're okay, well, maybe it's all right, and it's just sort of continued regressing down around him, and he's pressed into mistakes occasionally. And today, bad pick. Yeah. It sucks. I don't know. All they have to do is beat the Jets and beat the Rams and cross their fingers. But if they if the offense still struggles, there's definitely a way that Waldron gets canned.
Yeah, if it's at the same rate, if they need to get their act together a little bit. Maybe Pete, grants a little leniency, at least for this game, with Lockett not being out there. But also, how does Pete view the tackle play, especially right tackle, has been pretty inoperable.
And Lucas is playing banged up.
He's hurt too. He even went out. I'm actually really eager to see how Forsyth played, because I think Forsyth actually looked okay, and I think he's a starting tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, he was the key to the run game popping at the end of last year, and it kind of did all right with him in there this game.
That's curious.
Yeah.
So you can throw him in with the Noah Fant package for Darren Waller.
So I believe if they went out, they only need the Commanders to lose one game, because they already have the tiebreaker on Detroit. So
okay.
They went out.
This is the Commanders, buddy.
This is good coat.
And then the Commanders play the Browns next week, which that one's kind of a toss-up. And then they play the Cowboys week 18.
Oh, great.
So
and the Cowboys might be in a scenario, we should say, after they beat the Eagles today, they might be in a scenario where resting their players is not advantageous. They might still be in with a shot of the NFC East. So again, that's a positive spin The Eagles' schedule. Let's look at this. Is it possible they lose the next game? No, they play the Saints. Okay, forget about it.
I'd say this, that
go on, say it.
I think there's a pretty good chance the Commanders are going to lose one of their next 2 games. So all you have to do, beat the Jets, beat the Rams, you're probably in.
Yeah,
probably.
And then from there, let's fly.
So,
even if they don't get in, I feel like there's a lot to be said for ending this season on a good note, going with a winning record, obviously, but especially the final 2 games of your season being W's, not just for it's always good to, win as many games as you can, no matter what your team circumstances are, but, kind of like where this team is at with its big picture outlook. I feel like they need the wins.
The vibes need it. Remember how good 2021 felt, and it was like, oh wow, they found a dominant run game, and they're gonna keep this whole unit together. And then Penny's hurt, and they lost Posick, and Forsyth isn't the starter at right tackle, and Dwayne Brown left, and their dominant run game is not a thing anymore.
Right.
But maybe they could achieve similar vibes, but hopefully better. Anyway, we'll see. We will be back. Merry Christmas. Hope you enjoy your big day. Hope you're listening on the big day. Well, hopefully not. Actually, that would be a bit sad. But if you are, we appreciate you too. Please do like the video if you joined live. Thank you so much for the donation we got, and thank you just everyone for commenting and taking part in the chat. It's pretty cool how we're sort of building that up, I think. Please do subscribe to the channel, comment, like the video. If you're listening, 5-star review, please. Subscribe, and everyone tell your friends about the @Seattle Overload podcast. Follow Griffin on Twitter @CMikeSpinMove. Follow Ty @Dane Gunzelers. Follow me @Matty F. Brown. Merry Christmas. Keep the faith. I think
it's not Gene over.
Will be okay.
It's not Gene over.
That's the positive, right? Gino's still playing good, ish.
How do you make an egg roll?
You probably get the egg.
You push it. You push it. And yeah, there's the holiday spirit.